Welcome, friends. So, I've been wanting to kind of just do a brain dump. There's been a lot going on, and I've talked like a little bit here and there in some videos about some stuff that's been on my mind. So, I'm sitting down here with Ticky. He's so cute. To just kind of talk about things because life is crazy. Life is crazy when you are in your 20s, and currently really crazy because I'm about to finish college, and that's a scary time. It's a time of a lot of change, and not that people are like really watching this other than my friends. I'm not the only one going through it, so maybe it'll be good to talk about. I have a list in front of me of things that have been on my mind lately. So, a lot of career stuff because I've been knee deep in the mud of everything career related, from updating your resume to what's good to have on a resume to interview prep to somebody was calling me to actually going on interviews, as well as knowing what you want from a job. So this is all stuff that I've been learning, and mentors and professors and whoever else can tell you things as much as they can and try and prep you, but some of the stuff you really can't get from other people. You have to figure it out yourself, either by doing it or by getting guidance in how to think about these things, because you're not really taught that. At least I wasn't. So it's hard to know what you want, like out of a job, working towards a career. And school has put the mindset in me where you kind of just take what you can get, especially right out of school. It's like you're lucky to have a job in your field. So that's kind of like the mindset that I feel like I've adapted or adopted, as well as like a lot of my friends. I think that's just kind of like what my impression is. But this summer, I was fortunate enough to work for the Department of Public Health, and my boss over the summer was fantastic, and he really has been pivotal in helping me figure out what I want, because nobody even asked me what I wanted. I didn't even ask myself what I wanted, really. Like, yes, in like very blanket statement ways, but it's hard to have an answer when somebody says, well, what do you want out of life? What do you want out of a job? When you haven't had that experience, it's hard to know. So he was able to kind of help me with that and breaking things down, being like, well, what kind of pay, which, like, obviously what kind of pay is important, but realistically, what will cover your bills and let you live the kind of life, or start building the kind of life that you want to live. And he got me thinking about what to ask, not only myself, but like when I go on interviews, what to ask about jobs. So that was interesting. That had never been brought up to me in school. And maybe, like, I have a career center at my school. Maybe if I went down there and got the help, maybe they would ask me those things. But really, the majority of my learning has been through like interpersonal connection. So that's been really important. And then also the fact that he was like, you can want things. You don't have to settle for the first job that you come across if it's not suited to you. And not necessarily that you have to have everything on your wish list for a job, because that's hard to do, especially like right out of school, no experience or very little experience. But there are things that you can want, especially like lifestyle things, like how do you have that lifestyle, and is this position getting you there? Nobody asked me those questions, and I didn't know to ask them. So wanting things and kind of taking the time to think about those things it's been enlightening, because it's kind of awesome that you can want these things and seek out these things, and it gives you some clarity, but it's also makes things a little more terrifying, because I went on an interview today for a job that they reached out to me for, and it wasn't anything to me, really. It wasn't something I was seeking out. They contacted me. I said, hey, might as well do it. One, for the connection. It's always fantastic to network with people whenever you can. And the more you do it, the better you get. And that is certainly true, because I used to be really terrible at networking, and I networked my butt off last semester, last school year, and over the summer. And now it comes pretty easily. So I definitely recommend just jumping into it. And if you embarrass yourself, nobody's going to remember except for you. But so anyway, I was contacted for a job that I didn't have any interest really in, other than it was an inn somewhere I wasn't really like wanting to be in, but it's an opportunity. And it also was interview experience. I've been on plenty of interviews, but for stuff that was lower level and, entry level jobs for like retail, food work, or food service. But as far as like professional interview, and like I walked into this interview and like the director of this health district was interviewing me, and his like second in command, and I forget what the woman's position was, but also somebody very high up at this place, which is intimidating, especially because I didn't know that there was going to be 2 other people in the interview. They are willing to train me, hire me while I'm still in school, train me, instead of, typically they look for people with experience already, but they're offering to train me and get me to like the full position, to get more pay, and I would be quite set coming out of school. It's a good salary, but I know that it wouldn't be a sustainable job for me. One, it's an hour from where I live currently, and I drove there today. It was a hike. It was a very pretty drive, but logistically, I think having to get up and be there for 8 o'clock every day, and I'd have to leave the house by 6:50 every day for a job that I don't see myself in or maintaining for longer than I really would have to. I'm not going to take the job. It's very unlikely I'm going to take the job if they offer it to me. They haven't offered it to me, but and that is really scary, because school teaches you, at least in my case, like my experience, they teach you to just take the job, take the stable job, and that you're lucky and that you have the opportunity, which I think is true. I think I am lucky to get this when I wasn't even looking for it. And I just know that, like, deep down, that it's not meant for me, that there's other things out there that maybe aren't as conventional and maybe don't pay as much and don't give me the same sort of stability in that way, but I think are like my chicken soup for the soul, you know? Where this role is important and I do believe in it, but I don't think I need to be the one doing it. You know, I think there's somebody a better fit. So I had the interview this morning and it went really, really well. I had a great time and they're fun to talk to. Afterwards, they're like, "You interview really well." And I was like, "Thank you. That's a big compliment." Especially, I told them, I was like, "This is my first, like, real interview, like, for a big position like this." And they were like, "Oh my gosh, well, you did great." And they're like, "No matter what happens with this, like, keep down the path you're on." And, like, they're just so cool about everything, so kind, as they should be. But it was a really great first experience. So, not that I'm some like, interview wizard or like some wise person about this whole process, because it's different for everybody. But as far as my experience goes, take the interviews as you get them and get the practice in. Research things beforehand just to familiarize yourself. Because honestly, some of the questions that they asked me tripped me up a little bit, and I was like, whoa. But I was able to kind of swing it back around. So definitely take the opportunities. Even if they don't seem like they're right, you can always learn something from them, I believe. And I think you always know what's meant for you. Because as great of an opportunity as this is, I just don't think it's sustainable for me. And I, like, feel that in my gut. And I get this reinforced when I, like, go online and I'm in the weeds of career options and job openings, and I find something that's really cool, or just something, like, more niche that I'm interested in, and I find myself figuring out how to do it. Like, no interview set, no nothing. I'm just looking online and I'm already thinking in my head what my steps would be to get there. Where with this, it wasn't really like that. There are steps for me to get there, but I don't feel as enthusiastic about taking them. So I think you always know what's meant for you. And if you're excited about taking the harder route to get there, I think that's also a sign that it's something that you really want. And it's definitely a challenge. This is so scary, by the way. So scary. Never been more terrified. Never been more terrified yet confident in my life. It's a very weird dynamic. I do recommend. I'm also very, very fortunate to have the support that I do. Like, I could explode thinking about it, because I have such lovely people, like family and friends, but also, like, my mentors at school and outside of school too, like from over the summer, that just, I don't know what I would do without that support. It's like insane how much love I have for them, in a really cool, nonchalant way. I also think that being young is an opportunity. I also recognize that I have a lot of privilege. I have a lot of support from my family, and I have things like a car, and I have jobs in the savings, and that gives me a lot of leeway. And my parents let me live home for free, So I have less bills than a lot of people do. I don't have to worry about rent, you know. But I think if you can manage it and you have the opportunity, I think being young and able to take advantage of opportunities and the flexibility that you have if you don't have kids and if you're not tied down anywhere, I think that being young is an opportunity. If I had major responsibilities, I wouldn't be considering doing half of the things that I would be doing or that I'm considering doing now. I think that also speaks to the kind of people I have in my life. Again, I will talk nonstop until I am blue in the face about how much I love the people in my life and how incredibly grateful I am, because I couldn't do half of anything that I do without the people that have been cheering me on. And I think it goes to show that being able to do this and even considering to take this step shows character of like me, myself, or you yourself. But I think it also goes to show the people you surround yourself with, because I'm very tight-knit with the people in my life, but they're all excited for me and they're all cheering me on, and they're all like, well, I'm looking at a job in Vermont right now. I'm looking at jobs kind of all in the Northeast. And they're like, as much as I'm going to miss you and you're not going to be 15 minutes away from me or whatever the case is, they're so excited. And it's already kind of a comfort that if I find something and I decide to take that risk, that I still have that support, even though they're not going to be down the road. Not really, but close by. That being said, also a terrifying time. Going where the wind takes you and not playing it safe, so to speak, is really scary. And as much as it excites me, it also, like, if I think too much about it, it makes me real nervous. There's a million things that could go wrong, you know? I mean, especially if you're moving away or something. Like, I would have to pick up my whole life, and financially, can I do that right away? And what if this, that, or the other happens? What if something happens with my car? What if, there's a million things. Moving away from your entire support system, which, yes, you can still call, and, like, realistically, if I move out of Connecticut, like, I'm not looking to, like, move to California. So I could be home within a few hours and be with my family and my friends if they're still here. You know, who knows where life will take them. But it's definitely scary, the thought of just picking up and moving somewhere new, just myself. It's also really exciting. But yeah, definitely like that fear of loneliness is there. And I'd be taking this guy with me. Yeah, you. Yeah. So I wouldn't be totally lonely. Right. That's definitely a fear. A lot of fears. But I think, again, it goes back to you knowing what's meant for you, that chicken soup for the soul. You know, if you can stick it out. Yes, change is always uncomfortable. If I stayed home and I worked a job here and I was just out of school, I'd be uncomfortable. It's just inevitable. So I think you have to really look to what brings you joy. Like, what lifestyle do you want? What parts of your lifestyle do you want to keep? What parts do you want to let go of? What do you want to add in? Can you add it in? Can you take the risk and keep all of that? Can you take the risk and keep the most important things? Will you lose all of it? These are all things I've had to ask myself. because I don't know if I want to play it safe. I could. Easily. I could do it. Honestly, I think they're going to, that maybe is cocky of me, but I think they're going to offer me that job. The interview went really, really well. You know, and I could do that. But is that really what I want? I don't know. I don't think so. And something else might come up, and I can live home and save some money and do something that's fulfilling. I haven't found that. So, asking myself what brings me joy and like what makes me happy is actually a lot harder. It's taken a lot, and it's always like a work in progress, like anything like that. You're always changing. And sometimes you just get sick of things and then you forget about them and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So that like process of getting to know yourself, thank God that I've been putting in the work, because these would be really hard to answer, any of these questions, if I didn't know myself at all. Or maybe it would be really easy. Who knows? Maybe it would make things easier. Maybe if I had no idea, I could just go out there and do anything and I would figure it out. And maybe that's a little bit what I'm doing. But I think getting to know yourself, you have to seek out those experiences. So I guess in a way, it's a challenge for me. It's going to, like, moving away. Not that this is set in stone. Nothing's set in stone. But hypothetically, if that were to pan out, that would be the experience that I'm seeking. And it would be a challenge to myself to be away from my support system and figuring out the things that I like and finding a career that is fulfilling to me and new people and whatever else is out there. Or quite the opposite. Maybe I hate it. But you know what? I learn. I know I hate it. I also think that finding like a sense of joy or like confidence in being scared is challenging but important. And that's something that's come to me recently. You can do hard things and be terrified about it and then feel really happy and like confident afterwards. That's how I felt after the interview today. And honestly, I walked in there not caring, because I did care, but I more so went in with the mindset of whatever happens, happens, because I kind of knew that the job wasn't a fit for me and that I was taking it as a learning experience, versus if it was something I really wanted, I think I would have worked myself up more. I wasn't anxious at all going into it. I was very chill about it, and I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for him to come get me and like do the interview, and I was just like chilling, and I was like, this is kind of crazy. But I think had it been something that I really, really wanted, I think I probably would have done worse. So my advice would be to try and keep that like whatever happens, happens mindset. I'm going to try and do it. Probably, definitely easier said than done. But honestly, whatever happens, happens. And I really think that whatever's meant for you and whatever is meant to happen is going to happen. Because everything happens for a reason. I really believe that. Finding that confidence in doing things that are scary. Kind of faking it till you make it, in a way. But once it's over, it feels so good. And that's been like happening a lot lately. And it's a confidence boost for sure. Because now I'm like, I could do anything. I like offhandedly made a comment about moving to British Columbia. Because this YouTuber that I like is from British Columbia. And I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. And I said it to one of my professors. And she was like, do it. And I was like, huh? She's like, do it. And I was like, well, maybe if the opportunity presents itself. She was like, make your opportunity. Go do it. And I was like, huh. And then the more I look into these things, while they're not in British Columbia, and I'm not looking to move to Canada, Well, this agronomy. Anyway, I am looking to stay in the Northeast. I think a healthy amount of delusion is good. Because I feel as though I have the rest of my life to kind of play it safe. I have the rest of my life to sit in a job like the one I interviewed for today and be stable. Which sounds like, like I hear it from an outside perspective. And I know that people in other situations would be killing for this opportunity. So there is that side of it, and I am aware of it. But in my own, what I'm working with and the cards I've got dealt right now, I think I want to take the risk. And so that healthy amount of delusion of what you can do, I think is good. And also, is it delusion if other people respond well to it? Maybe I didn't phrase that right, but like, maybe what I think is delusional as far as confidence goes is maybe normal to other people, you know? You never know. Everybody's got different perspectives, different realities. So maybe it's not delusion. We could get into a whole mess of this. I'm taking way too many sociology classes that talk about all these theoretical perspectives and how nothing's real. So we could really get into it, but I'm not ready for the existential crisis right now. This is enough of one. Anyway, back to getting to know yourself. Get off of your phone. I mean it. Everybody says it, but I so mean it. Get off of your phone. That thing is sucking the life out of you. Get off social media. And it will, I mean, it sucks at, well, mine was more of an avoidance thing at first. And now it's like, I literally don't have it in me to be on social media. It is just it's so mind numbing and it's so terrible for your mental health. Get off of your phone. I think doing things in person, developing a skill, having interests, that is way more attractive to me in any sense, friendship, whatever sense. That is way more attractive to me than having a curated Instagram or like any of that. Like, don't tell me that you're on your phone scrolling TikTok for 5 hours a day. Tell me that you learned how to do something and you're not very good at it, but you're still doing it. Tell me that. That's so much better. Get off of your phone if you want to know who you are. That is not who you are. That is lies. I sound like such an old person, but I so mean it. Get off of your phone. It's probably going to suck at first. And you're probably going to want to rip your hair out a little bit, but like, it's so worth it. Like, pick up a hobby. Go outside. I love going outside. Pet a cat. Find a cat. There's cats everywhere. Find a cat. Pet a cat. Pet a friend's dog. Write. Doodle. Draw. Paint if you have paints. Learn how to crochet or knit. Learn about constellations and then go outside and look at the stars and see if you can find them. Literally do anything else than be on your phone. I'll get off my soapbox about that. But I think if you want to get to know yourself, you have to be off of your phone. And it's been tremendously helpful for me. I haven't touched social media in months. I'm still on my phone quite a bit for different things. I mean, it's inevitable you're going to be on your phone. I don't count like FaceTime because that's like my I have set routines with the people in my life of when we talk. So I don't count that time. It's part of my routine. But I think it allows you to like actually listen to yourself. I think it in a lot of ways, like how you're feeling, like physically, if you're tired, if certain parts, like my shoulders have been bothering me recently, and I know why I know what it's from, but like listening to your body, I feel like I'm much more in tune with myself. And I'm not saying that's a direct correlation of being on my phone versus not being on my phone as much. But I think seeking out things that are off of your phone that you genuinely like to do and checking in with yourself and all of those things allows you to actually be able to listen to yourself physically and mentally if you're mentally fatigued. And sometimes it's easier than others. Yesterday, I had a hard time not going to class. I felt really guilty about it, but I needed it. I needed that time. I needed to just not be a person for a little bit and not think about the sociology of mental illness, because that's a hard topic. It's a rough one. It's heavy. And to think about that for 3 hours after you're already kind of brain dead, it's rough. So build that gut feeling. My best friend Jo, she says that she will listen to my gut and believe my gut feeling over anything she sees with her own eyes, because it is always right. My gut feeling is always right. But if you don't listen to yourself, you don't get those gut feelings, or you do and you ignore them, because I used to ignore them all the time. And I'm still a victim of that, because life is hard, okay? Life is hard. But actually listening to yourself and what you need and how you can get there and reprioritizing what's going on in your life. And it's hard. I mean, right now I'm working 2 jobs. I'm a full-time student and I'm TAing. And honestly, looking for jobs and trying to figure out your post-grad options, that is another full-time job. The amount of hours I've put into that is a little insane. So I understand. And like, that's, people go through way worse. So I can't even imagine. I mean, I've myself have been in worse situations. And this, I mean, even compared to like last semester, this semester is far more manageable. But actually listening to yourself, even like your hunger cues, just like something as basic as that. Get to know yourself. Listen to yourself. I could talk about that for so long. When you start to actually do those things and you start like recognizing that you're like actually a cool person, it's kind of weird, because society does not want you to recognize that you are a cool person. They want you to not like yourself. So it's weird when like things come up and you're actually like, oh, I'm like actually kind of a cool person. It's really strange. But it's also kind of amazing. It's fun. It's nice. It's like, oh, okay, we're having some payoff, thank God. Because boy, oh boy, life can really put you through the ringer. It's been rough. I had a rough summer. I had a good summer. I learned a lot. I had a lot of really gratifying, fulfilling things happen in my summer. But like life tends to do, there's also things that are really hard. And you go through things that are hard when maybe you don't expect them. And you learn how to deal with it and hopefully come out the other side as a better person, or at least more knowledgeable. And I feel like I have. Some days it doesn't feel like it, but you know, it's just how life and healing and growth and all that crap goes. It's, you know, that's how my friend B describes it to me. She's like, doesn't go just like linearly like that. It's like, you know, ebbs and flows. So being a cool person, yeah, that's what it says on my brain dump list. But yeah, actually like getting to feel that you're a cool person. Get off your phone. Your phone tells you that you're not a cool person. I think another huge part of that for me has been being outside, which seems so simple, but so true. Like, I feel like more connected to everything. Like, not even just myself and like getting some quiet from everyday life and things that happen, but just feeling connected to everything around you, and that like there's an ecosystem outside of yourself. There's a world outside of your world and everything in it. And it's nice to be able to tap into that if you can. I went kayaking the other day, and it's been a rough couple of weeks, just really, really busy. And I just needed some time. And so I went out for an hour in the kayak, and I was just floating around. Nobody else was there. And I saw geese, and I saw a heron. And it was just very calm. And it was just so different from everything else in my day. And I was like, how significant really is that? You know, like, I get so worked up about things. And obviously it's my reality and it's affecting me. But sometimes it's nice to see the bigger picture and that you're just this little piece of the puzzle, which can be scary at times. There's always two sides of things, but in this instance, it was nice to be able to zoom out and see that ecosystem outside of myself and see that interconnectedness of nature, because I think humans like to think of themselves as disconnected from nature, like that we're so superior or we're just so different from the rest of the world that we're not connected to it. But in reality, I mean, we're mammals and we are living and breathing creatures like many other things on this planet. And it's all connected if you choose to see it, like anything, if you choose to see it. And I think nature allows you to just kind of take that step back. And it's very powerful. Like, when you really let it, like, sit in, and, like, it's become a habit for me, and it's become very powerful. And I'm glad to get back to that. I grew up outside all the time, playing outside, and I went to environmental schools all growing up. And I think you kind of lose that. You get wrapped up in, like, figuring out how to be an adult and whatever else comes your way, that you kind of forget some of these more simple things. And something as simple as going outside when it's sunny is, like, crazy how much of an impact it has on me anyway. But I also like to, it's become, I don't know if spiritual is the right word. I guess spiritual. I grew up going to church, but I'm not, like, religious anymore. I had a not great experience. My dad used to work for a church doing, like, grounds work. And it was great when, like, he first started the job, but it got to be not so great the older I got. So we stopped going, and I haven't really been to church much since I was, like, I don't know, 10. It's been a while. But I do, again, feel that connection to nature, and I think that's a spiritual thing for me, or at least is becoming more of one. I definitely find a lot of solace in being outside and kind of away from everything, and choosing to see good omens, like, whether or not that's, you know, some people are probably like, that's delusional. Some other people are like, hey, that's, you're chilling, whatever makes you happy. But I think that, again, like, everything's connected, and this is maybe some, like, real woo-woo stuff, but that there's good omens and there's signs, and sometimes, again, things just happen when you need to see them. And like that, the frog that was in my boat when I went to Vermont, and I bought that card, the watercolor painting print, when I was in Stratford, Vermont, of the little frogs in the boat. And then later that day, I went kayaking, and there was a frog in my boat. And I was like, I could have bought any of those prints. There was like 50 prints there, and I bought that one. And then a few hours later, there's a frog in my boat. Now maybe that's just really weird coincidence. But I was like, that can't just be a coincidence. See, to me, not just a coincidence. and I looked up the meaning of frogs, like spiritually, like what they're typically associated with, and it said like adaptability, and I don't think rebirth was the word. I wish I could remember the whole thing, but it was just like healing and adaptability and like all that, and I'd had just a rough start to 2025, to like mid 2025, and this summer was like very much about change and figuring things out. You know, so that resonated with me, and I think that if you want to see the good things, that you're going to see the good things. Kind of like confirmation bias, I guess, in a sense. If you're looking for it, you'll find it. But I don't think that's a bad mindset to have. You know, if you look hard enough, you'll see good things, and maybe not everything, but in a lot of things. I would argue day-to-day life. Yeah, so that's what's been on my mind lately. And I won't make a habit of doing podcast episodes like this, because I don't really have subscribers, but this is more for me, and this is a really weird time of life, and I think maybe one day, maybe I'll never look back on this ever again, but maybe one day it'll be like, wow, that's, you know, that's where I started from, or like, this is what I was thinking then, and like, this is still true today, or this has changed because of this, you know? I don't know. And if nobody watches this, that's fine too. This is the only like social media I guess I have, except that it's my 2 subscribers are my 2 best friends, and whoever else is watching these, I don't know who they are, so it doesn't really matter. It's not really interactive like Instagram or any of that. Tinky's big booty in the way. And yeah, choose to see love. Love is everywhere. I have a photo album on my phone for anything like that is like a sign of love anywhere. Any little tiny thing, little morsel that I find, I take a picture of it and I put it in that album. So that's all I got. But I hope, I don't know what any of this is, but I hope maybe somewhere one day somebody maybe sees this and takes something from it. But if nothing else, I at least feel better talking about all of this, so it'll be for me and Tinky. All right, peace out, Cub Scout.